Dear listeners, imagine a small village surrounded by a dense forest. There lived a boy named Artie. Everyone avoided him, thinking he was strange and different. But what hurt the most was not just being ignored. One day, a false accusation trapped Artie as a thief, when in truth, he was only seeking shelter from a fierce storm. With eyes full of pain and a shattered heart, he was forced to leave the village he once called home. Alone in the dark forest filled with secrets, Artie wandered without a clear path. Would his fate be better out there? Or was there a danger waiting? What truly lies behind the silence of that forest? But before we continue with the story, please keep supporting this channel by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Your support means a lot and keeps us motivated to share more amazing stories. And of course, thank you so much to everyone who has supported us with likes, shares, comments, and subscriptions. You are an important part of this storytelling journey. Oh, don't forget to check in the comments. Write from which area you are listening so we know how far our stories have spread. Now let's continue with the story. Artie walked slowly along the narrow path covered with dry leaves. His heart was heavy. Every step felt like leaving a little hope behind. He still remembered the cold faces of the villagers who turned sharp with hatred. Behind all that, Artie did not understand why he was hated, why the kindness and sincerity he once gave were never appreciated. That night, the wind carried eerie whispers from the forest. The sound of broken branches, night animals lurking, all added to the fear crawling through his chest. Artie sat beneath a huge tree, trying to gather the last of his courage. He remembered his father's words long ago, that this forest held secrets and creatures not all humans could understand. But the coldness was not just from the air. Loneliness gnawed at every corner of his heart. He felt cast away, as if there was no place for him in this world. Tears fell silently, mixing with dust and dirt on his cheeks. Then, in the midst of darkness and despair, a soft whisper came from the bushes. Artie turned with a pounding heart. A giant creature lay there, its body covered with shimmering scales that looked like liquid gold. A huge snake, badly wounded, its eyes weak but filled with hope. Artie hesitated. Fear and pity battled inside him. But something inside said this creature was no ordinary snake. This was the Snake Queen, guardian of the forest, spoken of only in ancient stories. Helping this creature might be the only way to find the true meaning of his exile and loneliness. But was Artie ready to face the dangers lurking from both the human world and the mystical realm? How would his fate unfold after choosing this path? All will be answered in a journey full of trials and challenges. The night grew deeper. The forest that once held only secrets now turned into a dark maze full of threats. Artie sat silently beside the giant wounded snake. His breath was heavy, his heart restless. He knew this was no ordinary snake. Its body shimmered like molten gold, its scales glowing faintly through the darkness. Artie reached into the small pouch he always carried, searching for medicinal leaves he had learned about from his grandmother. His hands trembled as he gently applied the herbal mixture onto the deep wounds. The snake's pain seemed to echo inside Artie's own soul. But he never gave up. Until dawn, Artie stayed by the snake's side. He guarded it, softly stroking the great head, whispering words of comfort that only he believed in. "Hold on a little longer, I will make you strong again." Word of Artie and the giant snake soon spread. From afar came heavy footsteps. A group of ruthless hunters approached, intending to capture the golden snake said to bring great fortune and wealth. Artie knew that if the snake was caught, the forest and the village would lose the guardian that had protected them all this time. With unexpected courage, Artie stood firm against the hunters. Their voices roared, but he refused to back down. He knew this was not just about protecting the snake, but also about defending hope and a future he had long been denied. A small battle broke out. Stones and branches flew, shouts echoed through the night. Artie was wounded, but his spirit burned fiercely. In his heart he prayed, hoping the Snake Queen would heal and repay his kindness. Days passed and the snake's wounds began to heal. The Snake Queen slowly opened her eyes, her wise gaze fixed on Artie. It was as if she gave him her blessing, a new strength. Artie felt an invisible bond connecting him to this mighty creature. But danger was far from over. In the dark forest, eyes continued to watch. Not just from hunters, but also from people who wanted to seize the snake for selfish and cruel reasons. Artie knew the path he chose would never be easy. Yet beyond all the threats in his once broken heart, a new hope began to grow. Hope that beyond exile and loneliness, there was a greater purpose waiting for him. Days passed slowly, yet for Artie every second felt like a heavy trial. He kept caring for the Snake Queen, tending her wounds with patience and deep kindness. But the challenges came not only from nature. From behind the trees, threats began to emerge quietly. The hunters who failed to capture the golden snake did not stay silent. They gathered a small force, promising to return with the snake as an invaluable treasure. News of this also reached the village that once exiled Artie. Some villagers grew fearful of the disaster that might happen if the Snake Queen was harmed. In the village lived a man named Kamal. He was a respected figure, yet known for his cunning and ambition. Kamal felt his position and power threatened by something greater than himself, like the presence of the Snake Queen and Artie, who was now known as the forest's protector. Kamal began to plan to remove Artie. He manipulated the villagers, planting long-buried fear and hatred. He spread false rumors that Artie was not only a bringer of misfortune but also an ally to dark creatures that would bring destruction. Artie, hearing these whispers, could only accept his fate. He knew it was not easy to earn the trust of those who once cast him away. But his determination to protect the Snake Queen and the forest grew stronger. He started learning to communicate with other forest creatures, seeking deeper power to prepare for the danger growing near. One night, under the bright full moon, Artie sensed an unusual presence. From afar came heavy footsteps and threatening voices. Hunters and some villagers influenced by Kamal arrived at the forest's edge, armed and ready. Artie stood firm in the path, chest out, eyes full of resolve. "I will not let you harm the Snake Queen or this forest," he said firmly. But the attack began. Stones were thrown, arrows flew, and shouts filled the night air. A fierce battle broke out. Artie ran and dodged, trying to protect himself and the forest that was beginning to suffer from the chaos. Amid the turmoil, the Snake Queen emerged from the bushes, her massive body glowing with dazzling golden light. With swift movements, she coiled and drove the hunters away, frightening them into retreat. The villagers who witnessed this were stunned and began to realize that Artie and the Snake Queen were not enemies but guardians they had long ignored. Yet Kamal was still unsatisfied and vowed to keep fighting until Artie disappeared from their village. Artie knew the fight was far from over. The real threat had yet to come. But he was no longer alone. He had newfound strength and forest allies ready to stand with him against the darkness that lurked. After the fierce battle at the forest's edge, the atmosphere began to shift. The village that once ignored everything was now filled with whispers of fear and curiosity. Artie's heart grew heavier because danger was no longer just outside. It had emerged from within his own village. Kamal, thirsty for power, grew more cunning. He was no longer satisfied with spreading hatred from afar. He began planning a betrayal that would destroy Ardi from the inside. Kamal took advantage of Ardi's old friend, a young man named Rocca. Rocca and Ardi had been friends since childhood. But over time, envy and bitterness slowly grew in Rocca's heart. He felt overshadowed by Ardi, who seemed stronger and more trusted by everyone. Kamal knew this weakness and seized the chance. One starless night, Kamal secretly met with Rocca. With sweet promises and hidden threats, Kamal persuaded Rocca to betray Ardi. Rocca struggled with his heart and mind, but in the end, he gave in to pressure and his own desires. Rocca began feeding secret information about Ardi's movements and the Snake Queen to Kamal and his group. Every step Ardi took was closely watched. Yet in silence, Ardi sensed something was wrong. The forest that once felt welcoming now felt cold, and the voices that once comforted whispered in warning tones. Ardi decided to seek the truth. He confronted Rocca directly, his heart torn between disappointment and hope. The meeting was tense. Rocca tried to defend himself, saying he was forced to act to protect his threatened family. But Ardi was not easily shaken. He knew this betrayal was not just personal. It was about the future of the forest and the peace he fought to protect. With a trembling voice, Ardi said, "I chose this path not for myself, but for all who believe in goodness. If you want to change, there is still time." Rocca fell silent, tears beginning to flow. Yet Kamal would not stop. He immediately mobilized his forces to attack the forest the next night, hoping to capture the Snake Queen and eliminate Ardi once and for all. That night became the darkest hour for Ardi and the Snake Queen. Under the moonless sky, the sounds of footsteps and screams filled the air. The real war had just begun. That night, the forest transformed into a terrifying battlefield. Cold wind blew fiercely, whispering fear into every leaf and branch. Ardi stood firm on the narrow path, alongside the Snake Queen who had almost fully recovered. Her massive shimmering body glowed under the moonlight like a golden king ready to defend his kingdom. Kamal and his forces arrived armed with weapons, carrying torches and sharp spears. Their faces were filled with hatred and greed. They believed tonight would be their final victory, to erase Ardi and seize the treasure of the golden snake. The battle erupted. Screams, clashing weapons, and the hissing of the snake filled the silent night. Ardi moved swiftly, dodging incoming attacks. He knew this was not just about himself, but about protecting all life within the forest. Rocca, now crushed by guilt, tried to help Ardi. He ran into the heart of the fight, attempting to hold back the increasingly brutal hunters. But the wounds in his heart were hard to heal, and every time he met Ardi's eyes, shame and regret overwhelmed him. The Snake Queen struck swiftly, her glowing scales like burning embers, striking enemies with incredible power. Her roar echoed, frightening the hunters and forcing them to retreat slowly. But Kamal did not give up. He kept leading the attack, searching for a chance to bring down Ardi and the golden snake. The battle reached its climax when Kamal captured one of the Snake Queen's offspring. Heartbreaking cries pierced the air, causing Ardi and the Snake Queen immense pain. Ardi felt as if his whole world was collapsing, but he knew he had to be strong to save the young snake and all he loved. With the courage he had left, Ardi launched his final attack. He called upon the power of the forest and its creatures. The wind blew fiercely, trees swayed as if answering his call. The Snake Queen emitted a bright golden light that spread across the battlefield. Kamal and his forces were driven back, fear engulfing them. In the chaos, Artie managed to free the young snake and chase the hunters far from the forest. However, the battle left deep wounds. The once peaceful forest was now scarred. Artie and the Snake Queen knew the threat was not truly gone. They must prepare for the dangers that may come again. After that night's battle, the forest was silent and wounded. Fallen trees, trampled earth, and signs of the fight were still clear. Artie stood amidst the destruction, watching the Snake Queen resting weakly beside him. Though her wounds were beginning to heal, Artie knew recovery was not only physical. His heart was heavy with anxiety and a great responsibility. He felt as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. Yet amid the darkness, an unexpected spark of hope appeared. The villagers who once feared and hated began to realize how important Artie and the Snake Queen were. Some of them, especially the elders, approached with respect and apologies. They brought food, medicine, and promises to protect the forest together. Rocca, who had once betrayed Artie, now stood on the same side. He tried to make amends by becoming a forest guardian and helping Artie care for the Snake Queen. Their relationship slowly began to heal, though the wounds of betrayal still lingered. During this time of recovery, Artie and the Snake Queen received an extraordinary surprise. One of the Snake Queen's offspring showed signs of magical powers never seen before. The small snake could heal withered plants and make the river water clear again. They realized that the forest still held many wonders waiting to be protected and preserved. Artie felt that his struggle was not in vain. Though scars and betrayal haunted them, hope was growing from within. However, far beyond the forest, a dark shadow still lurked. Kamal, defeated in battle, would not stop. He was preparing a new, more dangerous plan, ready to shake Artie's world once again. Kamal, defeated in the previous night's battle, did not give up. In silence, he gathered his remaining forces and began crafting a crueler plan. His ambition was no longer just to capture the Snake Queen but to dominate the entire forest and village. He infiltrated the trust and customs of the people, using cunning tactics to divide and spread fear. Kamal manipulated old tales of curses and evil spirits said to haunt the forest, making the villagers even more afraid and driving them away from the land. Meanwhile, Artie continued training and deepening his bond with the forest and its creatures. He learned to call upon help from birds, insects, and even the gentle blowing wind. The Snake Queen grew stronger too, preparing for whatever was to come. Yet inner conflict still haunted Artie. He felt weary and sometimes doubtful, especially when witnessing the suffering of those he loved. Rocca, now loyal at his side, tried to strengthen him, reminding Artie of their shared purpose. One night, under a red moon glowing in the sky, Artie received a vision of the destruction that could happen if Kamal succeeded. He saw fire consuming the forest, the cries of living beings losing their shelter, and the village torn apart. The vision spurred Artie into action. He knew time was running out. Together with the Snake Queen and Rocca, he began preparing their final defense. They trained the forest creatures to unite, set natural traps, and strengthen the magical bonds protecting their land. On the other side, Kamal moved with his vengeful army. The decisive night was near, and both sides knew the final battle awaited. The awaited night finally arrived. The once peaceful forest transformed into the battlefield of the last fight between Artie and Kamal. The roar of thunder and the pounding footsteps of soldiers echoed among the trees. All the forest creatures gathered, ready to fight alongside Artie and the Snake Queen. The battle was fierce. Kamal unleashed all his power and deceit. But Artie was not alone. He was accompanied by loyal forest creatures and the strong Snake Queen. They moved as one soul, protecting and attacking with full spirit. In the middle of the battle, Artie saw his chance to confront Kamal directly. With burning courage, he stepped forward and challenged Kamal to a one-on-one fight. The duel was tense and dramatic. Every strike carried great danger, and both were equally strong. But Artie used the power of his bond with nature and the Snake Queen to defeat Kamal. When Kamal finally fell, he realized his mistakes and asked for forgiveness. Artie did not respond with hatred, but with sincere forgiveness. Kamal promised to change and help protect the peace of the forest. After the battle ended, the Snake Queen gave Artie an unexpected gift. A golden necklace that emitted a warm light, symbolizing courage and pure love. The necklace also held magical power, enabling Artie to better protect the forest and the village. Artie returned to his village with a heart full of hope and gratitude. The village that once turned away began to accept and appreciate him. They understood that courage and kindness could overcome hatred and fear. This story is a reminder that even in the face of betrayal, wounds, and darkness, love and hope always have a place to grow and heal. Dear listeners, from the story of Artie and the Snake Queen, we can learn many valuable lessons. In life, we may sometimes feel isolated or betrayed by those close to us. But never give up. With courage and a sincere heart, we can find incredible strength, even from unexpected places and beings. Love and forgiveness hold great power to heal wounds and turn enemies into friends. And remember, protecting nature and all living creatures is our shared responsibility, so that this world remains beautiful and harmonious. This story is fictional, created to feel so real in order to be a source of motivation and inspiration for all of us in living life. May this tale open your hearts and strengthen your spirit to keep fighting and believing in goodness. Thank you so much for listening until the very end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this story. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing exciting and inspiring stories. See you in the next story.